Cultures around the world have these end-time prophecies. What are some of the prophecies that you would like to share with us today?
Well, Ellie, there's several that also correlate biblically. And for those who are watching, I want to remind the listeners and watchers of Romans 1:20. For those who think, well, how would the Native Americans have known God? Well, Romans 1:20 says, "For I have shown myself to every nation of the earth in things seen and unseen. Therefore, man is without excuse." And so we very much knew who God the Creator was. Not all the tribes were monotheistic, but the East Coast tribes were monotheistic and still are, unlike many of the other tribes that are polytheistic. So the prophecies that have been passed down for generations among our people, whenever we say the time when the fires will come, that's an indicator, especially when we're talking with Native people, we're about to speak about end-time prophecies. Because one of the biggest prophecies is that once the Creator destroyed the earth with water, and that was to destroy the giants, according to the oral tradition, which is also found in the biblical account.
That's just an incredible statement that the oral tradition in Native talks about a global flood, which parallels the biblical narrative. It's amazing.
And these are pre-missionary contact stories.
Right, pre-Columbian.
Pre-Columbian.
Okay.
And so when we say that the fires come, we know that there was a destruction of the earth by water, and there's going to be a destruction of the earth by fire before Creator comes to restore the world, because fire purifies. So there's prophecies that said that when grandmother spider's web covers the earth, that's an indicator of the fires are really close to coming. What is that to us now? The World Wide Web. We see the internet. Also power lines that are going across everywhere. That looks like a web completely covering the land. Another prophecy, and this was one that I really didn't understand until Creator gave me revelation on it, and it was that the buffalo would cover the land again. And in the natural mind, I'm thinking, how is that possible? With all the cities and towns and everything that's been settled over 500 years, it is impossible for the buffalo to cover the land again. But then a few years ago, the U.S. Mint put out the buffalo nickel coin again.
Wow.
So here we have the buffalo covering the land again. The Hopi prophecies of the gourds of fire that are going to fall from the sky, and that the lakes will burn and boil.
What does that sound like to you?
Sounds like to me like an ICBM, an intercontinental ballistic missile, a nuclear missile. Seeing something 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago of technology that's up today, that's how
very difficult to,
right.
Okay.
So they describe them as gourds. So we see a lot of this taking place. We see the World Wide Web. We see the iron snake, or the snake of metal, that would also cover the land of the Americas, of Turtle Island, and that was the railroad. So many and many of these prophecies have come to pass already, and there's still more that we're waiting to happen. But we know that we're at a time where time is short. One of my favorite stories was shared with me by a Lakota man, and he was a dear friend of mine, also a military veteran. And we were sitting around the fire one time, and we were talking about things. And he wasn't a believer at the time. He was raised very traditional, in the traditional ways of the Lakota people. And his grandfather was a very well-known Lakota medicine man. And as I was sharing things with him, and we were talking about these stories, and he says, "Well, I want to share a story with you." And this story was passed down to him by his grandfather, who was passed down to him by his grandfather. And again, I'm paraphrasing the story. So in the story, in the long ago time, there was a plague and a famine that hit the Lakota people. And this is when they were still more on the East Coast. Because the Lakota, if you've ever watched Dances with Wolves, that's the Lakota. And he gave me the permission to tell the story. They used to be East Coast people before they became buffalo hunters and pushed out west. And there was a time where there was a great sickness that came upon the people. So as is custom of a chief, you would go and you would fast and pray for an answer. So this chief would go up to a sacred mountain, and fasting and praying would cry out to Creator, "Tankashila, maker of all things, creator of the heavens and earth, my people are dying. Is there a song that you can give me that I can sing over my people so that they'll be healed?" And he received no answer. So the next day, the chief is praying and singing. And again, "Tankashila, you who made all things, you created us from the dust of the earth. My people are dying. Is there a plant that you've created that I can make into a medicine for my people?" And he received no answer. The third day, again, he's praying and he's crying out, "Tankashila, you are the maker of all things, the creator of the universe. You who set the stars in place and the moon and the sun. My people are dying. Is there a dance that you can give me a vision of that I can dance in warfare for my people so that they'll be healed?" And there was no answer. So that fourth day, the chief is praying, and he's empowered as he's been fasting, and he's crying out one more time, please, Creator, is there something? My people are dying. And as he's crying out, the Creator sent a spirit messenger to this chief. And the spirit messenger opened a window in the sky, and he told the chief, look through this window for your answer. And so the chief looked through the window in the sky, and he saw a man that was pierced and hanging on a tree. Wow. And the spirit being said, he is dying, so your people will live. And as the window began to close, the chief said, wait, what is his name? So that we can honor him with a dance and remember that he has given his life so we can live. Because amongst our people, there's no greater honor than to give your life for another. And the spirit being said, his name is Bright Morning Star. Remember his name.
Wow.
And that's what the old ones say. That's how it was passed down. And that is the origin of the Sundance.
세상에서